Ice rolled in before the sun could rise, breaking down the doors, no warrant, no reply. Show me your papers, but the proof doesn't mean a thing. When your skin tells a story they don't wanna hear you sing. They're taking babies from their mothers' arms, fathers from their workplaces, their homes and the streets. This is the land where your ancestors rest, yet they're telling you that you don't belong on these streets. Where are they taking you? This ground knows your name. 500 years and the story's still the same. They draw their lines and say you crossed to the wrong side. But how do you deport someone from their own sky? When they came at dawn, no one made a sound. Now ice has come to town. Windows shatter like promises made in the past. You must have done something, assumptions cast. But lawless times don't knock, don't wait, don't ask. They just see brown skin, and that's enough for the task. Your ID says you're home, but they call it fake. How many lives will it take before we wake? Man, woman, child, they don't discriminate in hate, just checking boxes while humanity breaks. Masks hiding their faces as they hunt their prey, filling quotas and checking boxes each day. Waiting outside schools where children should be safe, outside courthouses and hospitals, no sacred space. While you're pumping gas or walking to your car, taking aid of people, doesn't matter where you are. They don't ask questions, they've already decided. When your face is your crime, there's nowhere to hide. Where are they taking you? This ground knows your name. 500 years and the story's still the same. They draw their lines and say you crossed to the wrong side. But how do you deport someone from their own sky? When they came at dawn, no one made a sound. Now ice has come to town. Go back to your reservation, stay away as if you're strangers on the land where your ancestors lie. Your face becomes a target, your skin becomes a crime. They don't ask for your story, they don't take the time. One day the line will shift, you'll be the prey. Then you'll remember you looked away. Will you speak when they come for you? Or realize too late what silence can do? Where are they taking us? This ground knows our names. The laws are gone, but the cruelty remains. They draw their lines, keep widening them till everyone's a stranger with nowhere to hide. When they came at dawn, we made no sound. Now lawlessness wears a crown, and ice has come to town. Be careful in these times, keep your loved ones close. When humanity goes missing, we all disappear. They came for them, they'll come for you too. Don't let silence win. Silence is betrayal. Silence is betrayal. Silence is betrayal.
Live on the air, Trial Junkies United presents Justice After Dark with your host, Z.
Appreciate it. Welcome everybody in our beautiful audience that we have. We have a lot of Natasha Littlewin. We have Southern Gal True Crime, Irish Luna Fairy, Therapist You Know. And if I forgot anybody, you're joining in or you're just hanging out watching, cool. I'm glad you're here tonight. Welcome to all the truth seekers, the trial junkies, the justice warriors. I'm Z, your storyteller in the wilderness of injustice, and my ride or die doc is riding shotgun as we navigate the darkness where the predators hunt and the system fails. Are you ready to ride tonight, Doc?
Always ready.
Tonight, you guys, it's going to be different. We're not telling a story that deserves to be heard like normal. We're going to witness one that's unfolding in real time, a story that society, a lot of them want to ignore, but we're going to refuse to let silence be betrayal because that's what it is when we don't tell these stories. We have special guests with us. We have Jana, Nicole, and Sally, three warriors that are fighting for their community. And we're going to listen and find out as much information we can and also find out what we can do because we want to know what's happening when ICE is terrorizing the very people who were here first, like the First Nations, our natives, brothers and sisters. Hello, that should clue them in. So buckle up. It's going to be heavy tonight. It's going to be raw and it's going to be real. And at first, we might hear the term Minnesota surge and think, oh, well, what's that? This is where they're supposed to be going after dangerous criminals, but they're not. They're actually going after people based on color of skin, based on their features, based on racial profiling. So our own Native brothers and sisters are being targeted, who are the first people that were on this land. Then they're sending them to Fort Snelling. And let me tell you what Fort Snelling is. Fort Snelling is the place where in 1862, US forces imprisoned about 1,700 Indigenous men, women, and children and elders following the US Dakota War. They were Many were tortured, starved, disease. So this is not a place that they should be sending anybody that comes from their native communities. But in 2026, that's where they're taking the natives that they are picking up. So can you imagine the psychological warfare that's playing on their brains? I can't we can't. But let's dive in tonight and welcome, Nicole, thank you for being here. Sally, thank you also. We lost Jana, she'll be back.
Yep, she's trying to get back in right now.
Well, if
Um,
something doesn't go a little wrong, then we know that it's not us, come on. Our audience knows
of
that.
course.
So, Nicole, your boots on the ground with Jana. Can you tell us what you were actually seeing there in Minnesota with ICE coming in?
Um, it's very traumatic out here. Been out here since maybe when ICE started coming, days into
Right.
the communities is when I started going out there and helping our a lot of people in our Latino community that would, have been attacked, kidnapped, helping families in different ways, and just watching the streets and watching, what's going on. Think at first community didn't think, it doesn't affect us, but it absolutely does. um and I'm watching them everywhere. I get up in the morning, there's whistles, honks. I live in South Minneapolis. I live in the Potterhorn area. So
Okay.
I wake up, there's helicopters. It's just wild. Everywhere you go, you'll see ICE agents. It's kind of surreal. Like I can't believe that we're living in this right now, that this is our
Right.
reality, right? And this is our lands. We should be feeling safe. I mean, we live in the city and we thought it, you know, people even up on the res and whatnot, they're like, oh my God, you live in South Minneapolis. But now we live in South Minneapolis and there's ice and it feels like we're under attack.
Right.
Hmm.
And I know, Sally, your concern also is for the homeless Native and Indigenous brothers and sisters because that's one of the things that you focus on, correct?
That's correct. I'm actually on assignment for the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe, which is a tribe in northern Minnesota of about 10,000 members. And my assignment is to actually find out what do the urban people need. And, you know, with the distress call that we had in July from Jana Williams brought to the meeting that, hey, you guys need to pay attention because there's people sleeping in the streets here. And her statement that she made at that time was, I demand you to help us in the metro area. I demand you to help the homeless here. And at that time, I was so
hear a
stunned
thing.
because her next statement
Oh, I
was,
can hear you, Jana.
how, how, her statement
Yeah.
at that time was, I saw a young lady sleeping in a box on the way over here. I'm from north central Minnesota, and for me to be visiting in the Minneapolis area, I was kind of like, huh, I didn't come in to the neighborhood in the way that probably Jana came over. She went through the neighborhood and saw the people sleeping in boxes. And so I was just stunned. And I sat with Jana and I said, Jana, do you know that as an Ojibwe woman, an Anishinaabe woman, we have to know that our place in society, in our Anishinaabe society, is to be the backbone of the family. That's what a woman in our society is, in our family, in our world. So coming from that kind of environment into to the city, and you know, I've been on the streets at night with Jana. We have looked at, you know, looked for people in the streets. We have found them, and we have also helped and bring them some food. And it's been such an eye opener for me because I live in northern Minnesota, and our homeless in northern Minnesota aren't, you know, publicly, you know, walking around and standing in the streets and living on the streets. They have like small encampments, and we have shelters. We have a lot more going for the people who live in northern Minnesota on the Leech Lake Reservation. So I think that, you know, since I've been involved, I've definitely seen a lot and I've heard a lot. And, you know, I'm running for, I'm campaigning for office right now as a secretary treasurer for the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe. And one of the things that I plan to do is to help us to help ourselves, help the women to be protected, to feel protected, to be that woman in our Anishinaabe society. So I think that
Right.
when we move along the road, we really need to have some respect for the women. We need to have an office where people really do sincerely search for our women. Miigwech.
Right.
Mhm.
And that makes sense. You know, and I know now there were some it was it from the Oglala tribe that were taken by ICE.
Am
Yep.
I on? Am I on?
No,
One
yeah.
of them are my friends. So this is the reality that I've been trying to ask leaders in our community to help. This is our reality right now. One of them, he was my friend. So also, I guess I could back up a little bit. I'm one of the camp organizers for Camp Orton and Okasi. That was it was majority were Indigenous people living in that encampment, and we were helping people get into recovery and into housing and off of the streets because we had such a large population at that time. Women were coming up missing. And so we went in there so that we could keep eyes on the women and recognize if they come up missing. I would know that, you know, such and such has been gone for a couple of days. And then we, you know, we would look for them if we didn't see them that day and whatnot. So, one of them boys, one of the men that were taken is my friend. And I keep posting about him. I keep asking leaders. I went out yesterday. I've made calls today, emails, it's in a couple signal chats. And I'm like, hey, these Oglala men, and do you have the names of the other ones? And say you do. And then I realized that leaders went to go look for these men and they are gone. They're not at the Whipple building or Fort Snelling, right? They're not there. They're just they can't locate them. So what did they do with these Indigenous men? What did they
Right.
do with them? How many more are there? So our people that are on the street, they are the invisible. These are the ones that nobody's thinking of. Everybody's got their own agenda, it feels like. And it's like, what about the ones that are invisible, that are just there, right? That are
Right.
getting snatched up by ICE. And then who are they? What's their names? Does anybody know what their names are? We're out in the streets. and the day and the night asking, did you guys know who any of these men, who was it that they took? You know, they trust us. We got those relationships with them, and it's really heartbreaking to know that we don't even know who they are, and that it takes that much. Right now we don't know how many more have to come up missing, and how many
Right.
have come up missing and nobody knows. And so I've been asking the community if we could possibly have our own Indigenous encampment where we watch over our people until, you know, but this is going to go on for a while, right? And
Right.
so we're like asking community leaders, can you watch over them? Can we have a organized encampment where we watch them? Because, you know, the truth is not everybody wants recovery. Not everybody wants to be housed. Some people just
Right.
choose to be out there, right? But
Right.
does that mean that they don't choose to be safe, or that they don't deserve to be safe, or they don't deserve to be protected during these hard times, right? Do they deserve to
Right.
come up missing? And how are we going to know if we're not watching over them, or we don't know who to look for, who's missing? And so I'm kind of having a hard time over this, and
Okay.
I love them.
Nicole, do you
Yeah.
want to tell us your friend's name? Let's put his name out there that you're worried
And
about.
Andrew Eagle.
Andrew Eagle.
Andrew Eagle. Okay.
So please, people, let's use Andrew Eagle's name. He needs to be found, and so do the others. And if anybody knows anybody that knows their names, let us know. You can always get a hold of us at trialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. You know that. Let's get these people found because they don't deserve this. And Jana, I know one thing you were working on, I saw on your Facebook page, was the Descendant paperwork. Can you tell us what that's about?
Well, our tribe actually did for the first time, I believe, ever, right, Sally? That our tribe brought, Leech Lake Band brought, we do tribal IDs once, maybe it's once a year or something down here in the Twin Cities Leech Lake office. But what they did is they brought down descendancy paperwork. So basically, that means that like my children are no longer considered to be Anishinaabe or a band member because the way that we work in Minnesota is slightly different than other bands. So we have, is it 8? So we have 8 Ojibwe bands in Minnesota. And the way that it works, I'm Leech Lake. Sally and I are both Leech Lakers. Nicole is Red Lake. They just changed this just recently, but I'm just going to give this an example. We're all fairly close in proximity to one another. So now if I would have married or had children with a man from Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe, and like I'm a little under a half, right? And if I would have had children with another man from the Red Lake Nation, which is just right down the road, or Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, our children would no longer be considered to be tribal because we have got to have children within one band, one tribe alone. So I would have had to have had children with a man from Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe, not White Earth, not Red Lake right down the street, not Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. We're all Ojibwe. So now our tribe brought down our department where the enrollment department, and they brought and they issued paperwork, like legitimate paperwork for descendants. So like my children, my oldest son is the wildlife biologist for the Mille Lacs Band, and he's not considered to be Anishinaabe. He's just considered to be white, I guess. I don't.
Which makes no sense.
I guess from a perspective that I really don't know. it is why would anybody? This is coming from the tribe. Is this being mandated by the tribe themselves, or?
Yes. This is Sally Fine.
Okay.
That is a fact. The current constitution then why we talk bands is that we're called bands. We actually are nations within an organization that was constructed for us by the federal government in 1934, which required us to have blood quantum. Now, the only other there's no other people that are required to have blood quantum to prove
No.
who
Yeah,
they are.
we
Only us. And they
yes.
do that. The federal government did this to make sure that everybody that was aware that they weren't stealing from people when they stole our land. They actually stole from animals. That's what they did
Right.
with that blood quantum.
Hmm.
So I call it BQ because any Native American should never roll that word off their lips. It's dirty, it's filthy,
Yeah.
it's meant to destroy us as Indian people,
Mhm.
as first people of this North America.
Well, and it's interesting because they did just the opposite with the black people. Instead, with them, it was if you had just one drop, they considered you black. You weren't, and that's why they came up with the derogatory terms like Mulgadroon or Quadroon, or so they did just the opposite that they did with the sovereign nations. Where you guys, they were counting it, but with the black people, just one drop and they were considered black. Even if they could pass, you were, and all of it is because those white guys were trying to really have the say over these different people that they didn't have the
Yep.
right to do.
Yep.
And
I
that's
just want to make
go ahead, Sally.
I just want to make a point that, the reason that the tribal leaders are brought the enrollment office to the Twin City area
Yeah.
is because of the fact that there's a whole lot of people, because of the BQ, there's a whole lot of people who aren't considered Native American citizens because of that BQ. So what they did was they brought that down, their office down there,
Right.
and they started identifying all the descendants with paperwork. They documented descendants in the last 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. So that's a really good, that's a good thing for us, because as we move forward as a nation, we need to understand that we are the original people. We are the ones that are mentioned in the Treaty of 1855. And that is where that's the treaty that we stand on today.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's smart. I know I had read that the Crow tribe is trying to get rid of the BQ.
So are we.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it shouldn't be there. It shouldn't, that shouldn't be somebody's identity.
Yeah, I would think
Right, but
everybody's trying to get
it's-
rid of that. So
Right.
Okay.
It's just so really critical now because there's so many young people and children who don't have that card that says I'm a Native American.
Right.
So for us to actually do that, to recognize them with documentation that they are descendants, that's a step forward for us as Anishinaabe people, to finally recognize our young people and who we are as a nation, not
Right.
reservation business committee, a corporate corporation. We're not that.
Well, and I can see why that's important. And Jana, I can, because like you were saying, you were working with the people, getting those paperwork, helping them with their paperwork, because they do need to have the paperwork on them, because if they don't have that, at least the descendant paperwork, that gives ICE an opportunity to take them away. And right now, ICE seems to be going after anybody that's brown. If your skin is not lily white, you're going to be a victim of theirs. And the situation is, I don't think a lot of people in the United States realize that once they get finished with anybody that's brown, you're going to be next. Maybe you don't go to their club. Maybe you're not part of their organization. Maybe you don't go to their church. Eventually, you'll become other. Just because right now you're not considered the other that they're going after because of your skin color, they'll come up with a reason. They're going to come up with the reason. So you can't just keep turning away and pretending it's not happening.
Yeah, and I think that even though a lot of people are afraid to go and be seen because they're brown, they don't want to be seen at these protests because they're brown. I think that's really something that we should have stress on this whole environment, is that we're the people who are the only non-immigrants. We're the original people of Turtle Island. So for us,
Right.
it's hard to even think that, so many of us don't want to be involved because of the fact that we're probably going to be the ones that are going to be picked on. And and it's happening today. We already are missing 4 people, 4 of the Dakota people. We don't even
Right.
know how many Anishinaabe people are missing because we don't know. I talked to Melissa Brings Them, who works on the streets, and she's been helping Leech Lake people. And she said that it's just, I think our meeting was Tuesday night. She said it's really eerie because the streets are quiet, and also there's so few people on the streets. And she said, I don't know what happened to the Leech Lake encampment. I don't know where they are. Nobody seems to know what happened to them. They're gone.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the ones who were out at Fort Snelling, but I guess there's not even a roster. People, you don't have
Yeah.
a roster. I don't know. Nicole, maybe she's been out there, so maybe she could speak about that.
I have a couple like websites that I could look for the names, but what I get back to is like if they're just snatching people off of the street and people don't know each other's name, people know each other by street names and whatnot, you know,
Right.
or may not know people by their last names. They're not sharing all that out there. You know what I mean? And
Right.
some girls, just for their plain safety, they give themselves, you know, nicknames. They
Yeah.
don't let anybody know what, you know, for their own safety because of the way that the streets are, you know. And how do we keep eyes on them, or how do we help them in a way? Like, I understand that encampment people shouldn't even live in a camp. Our people deserve better, right? Like, I've
Right.
always said that, like, encampments is not the we
The
haven't had
answer.
an active encampment that we had an organized encampment has been 10 months. So
Okay.
it's been, you know, a long time. We've been helping a lot of relatives through Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center. When we had a fire in Ruth, Buffalo opened the door to temporarily give them shelter because it was below zero weather. And community came together for the relatives at that point, right? And so we haven't had an active camp, but like, I just can't stress enough how many relatives are probably missing. I've been asking people,
Right.
and can we just use a piece of land? There's a lot of native orgs that own land, or just have an extra parking lot there and whatnot. Like, can we just do that? Can you guys ask for a city lot? And we put a few yurts where people can be warm, and we'll watch over them. We got enough protectors. We got AIM, we got you know, Indigenous Protectors Movement. Like, we have a lot of Indigenous protectors in Minneapolis, right? We got Little Earth protectors, we got so many. Why can't we do this temporarily, like a temporary
Right.
safety net over the unhoused for right now, so that we can keep eyes and know who's coming in and out and know who's missing and who to look for, right? Their first and last
Right.
name, because without that, you can't just go like the Hennepin County jail roster. You can go on there and look who's in custody, right? And a roster will pull up. Homeland
Well,
Security and ICE, they don't got that.
well, that's because the reason they're not doing their paperwork and sharing is because they're hiding stuff.
Mhm.
That would be the only reason, because like you said, in a normal jail, if someone gets booked in, they have their name, their number, they have information that people can track them. Jana, I know you've been in the camp, you've talked to the homeless too. And I'm sure that they have to be terrified of what's going on.
Okay, so I need to address something right now.
Sure.
So let's make no mistake about this isn't just an ICE issue. This is
Right.
an MPD issue too.
Okay.
This is happening in the state of Minnesota. We have a homeless man, Harold Brown, that just passed away. Nicole, was that a few weeks ago or so? And he passed away in the jail. They are legally supposed to put this out on the news, give some sort of updates to the family, to the public, when a 37-year-old unexpectedly passes away in the jail in police custody. This did not happen with this family. This is the stuff. We are absolutely invisible in this state. We are invisible. They just simply don't care about us. You know, Nicole, I talked to the family yesterday, and he did in fact pass away, but nobody in the state of Minnesota, including reporters, cannot find that information that this Harold Brown, a Leech Lake band member, Sally, passed away unexpectedly, be in police custody.
This
This
happened
is
with this happened with Jason Rainey as well, died inside the jail system, and nothing was posted, no information given. When Tyrone Moore was killed in the encampment by another person, he was killed in front of me. And within 2 days, they released this man, and it was a unidentified gun. So what do they call that? A ghost gun, when the label
Right.
is like removed. And so he was killed with a ghost gun. This guy was out within 2 days, and he's back out on the street after killing him. This is all murdered Indigenous people, right?
Right.
These are our relatives, and I've been saying this for years, but hey.
Well, we got to keep telling the stories. We can't. Our motto has always been silence is betrayal. So we're not going to be silent. We're going to tell the stories. We'll say the names, because these stories need to be told. We got to start holding people accountable, because someone shouldn't die in jail and then nobody knows about it. The fact that there are people dying in ICE custody, and nobody's finding out until a long time later, and it's worrisome. And the fact that they will take someone, let's say, from Minnesota, and the next thing you know, they end up in a detention center in Louisiana. For some reason, they love to put them down in Louisiana. They try and get them as far away as possible.
That's
So
what
let's
I was
talk
just going to say too, is, I mean, there is no roster, right? You have
No.
no idea who ICE has taken, who they haven't taken. So they could be gone, to another facility somewhere, and we don't even know.
Well, they're also sending people out of the country. They're sending them to countries that they don't belong to. They're shipping people to African countries that are from Mexico or El Salvador. Or they did that with, I think, a guy from Jamaica. They sent him to an African country. Where are they going to send the native and indigenous people? Because they're the ones that belong here. They were here first. This is the only place they know. This is where their ancestors are. This is their country. Nobody has the right to take them and send them anywhere. And we have to make sure that voice is heard, that they can't keep doing this. And right now, technically, they're holding these men that they have taken that are native, and they're really holding them hostage because they want the tribal leaders to sign an immigration document for the Department of Homeland Security. Well, they shouldn't have to sign that because they are not immigrants.
That's right. That is
They
right.
they're from this
I want to
land.
make a point.
Okay.
Okay. So, I'm a planner for the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe. And one of the things that I noticed right when I started working with my people was that every time we want something, we don't get it until the federal government has given it to everybody else. And then we are allowed an opportunity to find some funds from the federal government to get what we need to help our people. So this is kind of that same case. So right now, what we in Minnesota need to do as tribal, tribal is such a weird word. It's kind of like, as a society, as our Anishinaabe society, let's not use tribal any longer.
Okay.
As a society of people, what we need to do is we need to fund ourselves. And that's one thing that we have to do. Even though we want money from the federal government to support us, especially with matters like missing and murdered. And right now we need to come together and put our feet on the ground and put our money to the table and say, all right, so let's do one thing. Let's hire one or two, or maybe an office of investigation of the Anishinaabe and the Dakota and Lakota and Nakota people in Minnesota. Maybe we should do that instead of trying to depend on the police department of Minneapolis or any other city in Minnesota to try to save ourselves. I think it's time that we do the same thing that we've always done, which is to fund ourselves. So I'm pretty sure that's where we're going to find some final justice, is if we Don't look to the federal government for the support. Don't look for the police department for support. We really have to do that for ourselves. So we need
Well,
an
yeah.
investigative unit
And
owned by us, looking for our
sa-
people.
the sad thing with that, Sally, is then you have all these silly jurisdictional hoops you have to jump through, because if a crime's committed on the reservation, well, these cops can't do it. These cops have to do it. But if it's a Caucasian guy, you guys can't do it. So, I mean, that's just ridiculous because you know what? This is sovereign land. If somebody goes over to France and commits a crime, they don't care what color or where you're from. France is going to pick you up and throw you in jail. you know? So the fact that they try and pretend that, well, just because it's sovereign land of the First Nations and their society, you can't touch someone that doesn't belong to that land. No.
Well, you come to find out that if somebody does something on the res, you know, they really aren't their own sovereign nation because the federal government won't let them be, right? I mean, that's some Caucasian guys gets on the res and does something that they're not supposed to do. The society police can't do anything about it.
I do think that we're working really hard toward making sure that, if we, like Leech Lake, we are an IRA government structure right now. That's the act that brings us to who we are as a band rather than a nation.
Okay.
We gave up our nation status when we signed that, when we brought forth the 1934 Constitution. So what we need to do now is we need to drop that and we need to take back our authority as Red Lake Nation does. Red Lake Nation is not like us. We're a public law 280 entity. I'm calling us an entity because we don't have nation status at Leech Lake. We're an entity of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, which isn't even a tribe. It's an organization, an entity. So I think that, when we act like, when we get rid of that public law 280, which restricts us to only civil law, we don't have any control over the criminals in our reservation tribal lands.
Right. Well,
But if we funded an organization amongst all the 11 tribes in Minnesota, and we had like an office of investigation, maybe that would be something that we could do, that we could handle. Maybe then we could, instead of looking to the police to try to find some protections for our people, we could actually be working to find our people and also to protect our people in a manner that's different than anything else, because there is nobody else in North America other than the North American people, the Mexican people, the Athabascans, the Native Americans. There is only our people. And when we talk about how it is that we want justice, we don't get justice. What we get is we get addressed as if we were, well, like they prescribed us as animals. So I think that it's time. We're in a movement now to actually be smarter than the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
showing a picture. I'm showing a picture real quick. This was at Renee Good's memorial that some of the Native people came and did a smudge ceremony, which I thought was beautiful. Because right now, a lot of them are the ones that are on the ground. Jana has been on the ground and has seen some of the craziness going on. Janet, what would you like to share?
Well, first of all, Sally, are you talking? I can't hear you.
No.
Oh, so we do have one tribal chairman tonight that came out, and when we are the ones that are boots on the ground, we have organizations. We have a lot of different organizations here. Minnesota is, if we are nothing else, we are very organized when it comes to after George Floyd. You know what? We can
Okay.
mobilize, as Ruth and everybody is seeing, that we are mobilizing. We have a ground zero at this point, down in right off of Franklin, down in basically Little Earth. And so I think what you guys are going to see is like these quicker responses in regards to like these protesters, the anti-protesters. Like I said, we had one tribal chairman today that went on and made finally a public statement condemning President Trump's basically occupation of his ice spoons here in Minnesota. And he told us as his people, as because we're all one up here, that we must stand strong and we need to stand and protest still and stand there peacefully protesting, because we all know that what Trump is going to do, he's going to come in. And we are there. I was there today at Ruth's place at MIWRC when the police surrounded it. Police car, MPD, sheriff's department, and there was ICE there today. And you know, we were there and everybody was honking, screaming, blowing their whistles, yelling at the cops, surrounding the vehicles. And finally we realized that it wasn't actually technically ICE at that point, that they came into our community, terrified everybody, and then they were going after the guns that were taken last night in the protest from the ICE agents. That's what they did in the city of Minneapolis. So what people have got to understand is that MPD, Minneapolis PD, Hennepin County Sheriff's Department, ICE, and the federal agents are all working together. You know,
Okay.
they can't show up. They can't show up when we are in real crisis here in Minneapolis. You know what? They can't show up when somebody calls 911, when MIWRC calls 911, because they told the Native community just in the last, 6-8 months, that they will not show up when we call 911. They will not show up unless it's like a shooting, a stabbing, a killing. They're not showing up to 911 calls. They have left us as a Native community. Basically, we are the last ones, the low-hanging fruit. They just simply don't care. And we're all seeing this. Nicole sees this. Ruth, you see this daily, you know, and I think that what's going to happen here, you guys, is that I'm not positive, but I'm hoping to God that Saturday doesn't rain hell here on in Minneapolis, because we've got
Okay.
some the KKK and the Proud Boys and everybody else that's in town. And there is a big protest that they're going from downtown Minneapolis to the Somali, that big building over there, Cedar Riverside. And so that's where they're going to end up. They're here to wreak hell for these brown, black, and the Somali community. That's what's going to happen here on Saturday, and it's starting already. And I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Ruth, today we were a little nervous, weren't we, Ruth? You know, being out there, watching the police roll up on these houses. You
Oh,
know,
Right.
so Ruth
I didn't even
joined, by the
see.
way.
Hold on just a second. Let me get Ruth online because I didn't even see her. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Hold on, Ruth. We're getting you.
Um,
But that's what's fun about YouTube. We have so many fun things trying to get everybody on.
Yeah. Ruth, can you
But
hear us?
yeah, she can probably hear us in the control room, but she isn't being heard by the audience right now. So hold on, let me.
there's Ruth.
Hold on. Make it copied.
But while we're getting Ruth on, that was one of the things. Is so they're trying to get the president of the Oglala Sioux, Frank Starr, came out, and he really shared how it is a violation of treaties and sovereignty for them to try and get them to sign some immigration paperwork that it's just wrong. They're not immigrants.
There's Ruth. She should be online now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Ruth, are you there, dear? There she is.
Yep. Hi.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Jana. You were going to ask Ruth a question or something?
Well, Ruth, where all of those police and that SWAT team, those SWAT teams were there today. I mean, there was a ton of cops. They cordoned off probably 2 blocks around there, today. And it was a little nerve-wracking, thinking it was ICE coming in. And I appreciate our community down there, because after the kidnapping, because that's what happened here. People can't make a mistake. What ICE did was kidnap American Indians out of our own community from underneath the bridges. They kidnapped them, and now they are holding them hostage to try to get access to tribal lands. You know what? And if you think about this, how many more American Indians do they have trying to access our tribal lands by way of this? And
Right.
Ruth saw this today, Ruth, and we were nervous. I mean, I was a little nervous with all the guns coming out. We pulled up when I actually pulled up on one of the trucks. They all have blacked out windows. You know what? That guy, he rolled down his window. He had an AR sitting right on his lap, ready to go.
Wow.
Was he going to shoot us? Was he going to shoot us, or what was he going to do? And that's the confusing, and that's the scary part about this stuff, is that these guys are rogue they're not even law enforcement. They're men that probably didn't have real jobs, that couldn't get real jobs. They're probably criminals themselves.
Yeah, they're thugs. They used to be a government agency that had agents that were probably some good men in there. Now they've just opened it up to any Tom, Dick, or Harry that has a pulse. And, that's why when you told me that, the Ku Klux Klan and the Proud Boys were coming, and I asked you, I said, are they going to be in their ICE uniforms or not? Because you're not going to tell me that some of them aren't on ICE.
Well, some of them are in ICE. We know that.
Because of the way
Well, let me
people
tell
are.
you.
Go ahead.
So today they said they were not ICE officers, and I'm going to call bullshit on that. And the reason why I say they said that they were not ICE officers, there were sheriff's deputies. I saw it. I watched it. There were Hennepin County sheriffs. There were MPD. You know what? After we all left, they had DH or HLS on the front of their shirts. What is that?
Homeland Security, right? Or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Homeland Security.
So they are working hand in hand with MPD and the Sheriff's Department. You know what? We have Mayor Fry that just came out, and what did he say today, ladies? Did anybody read that? That I don't know. He made a statement. He goes online acting as though he's going to be there for our community, but unfortunately, he's full of lies. He is full of lies. That man is full of lies. You know what? That Minneapolis PD, if they are there to protect the normal people, constituents, the people, the citizens of Minneapolis, even if they're protesters, you shouldn't be facing the protesters and having your backs to ICE agents. You should be having your back with us, to the protesters, to the people that are standing on that line, and looking at the ICE officers, the ICE agents.
Yeah.
Shame on MPD. Shame on Hennepin County Sheriff. I don't believe that all of them want to be there and fighting this. We're seeing this. Aren't you seeing this? We're all seeing this. Ruth is there every single day. Nicole is there every single day. Every single day. They are at ground zero.
And Ruth, what is it, your organization that you have started that you take care of?
I work in Fort Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, and it was started 40 years ago by a lot of strong community members in South Minneapolis, women, men, who came together wanting to find a a strong path forward for Native women and their families.
Okay, that's awesome. And I appreciate your work. And if there's anytime you want to come talk about it, you're always welcome, sweetheart. Because I think one thing we also have to remember is that Homeland Security, we know, is right now is still in the hands of puppy killer Gnome, and she does not have a love for the Native people, because we know when she was the governor, 9 tribes banned her from showing up because of the lies and the nonsense she caused. And now we see these terrible things that ICE is doing, and they are holding these Native men or women. We don't know who they have. That is the problem. We don't have names. We don't know who these people are that were taken, and they're being hidden, and they're being held hostage. And that's why we have to talk about it, because it's criminal. It really is a criminal act that they're holding people that were here on this land first as hostages for a negotiation. It's almost like watching a third world country. That's what we're living in right now.
So at
Um,
one
We are in
point,
it.
I heard up on Red Lake band member being taken, and she was a Red Laker and unhoused at some point when I was up north, and I never heard anything of that again. We just don't know who's missing at this point. It seems like they targeted the ones that kind of the ones that nobody would miss.
right.
Technically, that, you know what I mean? Like, if they're out there, who's looking for them? Okay, let's just snatch these ones up because they're here. I
It,
don't know what it is, but it's horrible.
Maybe there's a
yeah,
quota that they have to meet each day.
it
Oh,
is.
That would make
I
it easy
think
for
there
them to
is.
target people.
Don't be
Yeah, they
don't
were
be
given a
fooled by
quota.
that. There is.
Yeah. Yeah, they
You
were
gotta
given
earn
a
your pay
quota.
some way.
Yeah.
Or like a
That's what I
price
would
per
think.
native they pick up. You know what I mean? If
Yes.
you get
Mhm.
one, like, what is it?
Historically, it worked before. Let's try it again.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm,
that's the
mhm.
thing, because I know when they got that one Native woman in, I can't remember if she was in Oregon or California, and she showed her ID. They told her it was fake.
Hmm.
And they just laughed at her.
Mhm.
I mean,
Wasn't she Red Lake as well? They took their tribal plates off and they said they weren't real.
no, this was Elaine Mills. She's the actress that was on Northern Exposure that I was talking about. Because she was stopped, and they told her that her ID was fake, and they laughed at her and made up story. It was nonsense. They just didn't realize that she actually was somewhat famous and could go out on TV then and say stuff. And then they started telling lies, saying that she was driving in a car when she was actually walking to a bus stop. So they couldn't even get their story straight.
Can I say something?
Sure,
So
go
You
ahead.
bet.
being that I don't know what sort of audience you have here right now, but what we all need to get out to the public, the general public,
Yes.
is that you must take out your phones and videotape. You must do this, even if you're up on the reservations. If you're in little bitty towns, you must and understand everybody that's blowing these whistles, right?
Right.
It's not just to make everybody aware that they're supposed to come look and record, but it's also to interrupt your earpieces. It's
Okay.
twofold. There's a lot of things that are happening out here. You know what? This is all by way of design, you guys. You know what? But we also have got to get this out to our women and our men. And I don't think that Native Americans, right? American Indians like to always record, you know what? But now we're being told to record, record, record. Your chairman Siki, Nicole, said this tonight. He said that on the news or on a radio station. He says, I need our native people to get their phones out. I need them to record everything because we need to document this. So when it comes time for these these mother truckers, that they are going to have to be charged, that they will be charged, but this stuff needs to be documented,
Right.
and he is calling for us to stand our ground peacefully, because you know what, everybody knows what's at stake here. Not just our lives. I mean, our lives are obviously the biggest resource that we have, but
Right.
our lands now too.
Well, and I think people don't realize, because just like in Germany in the 1930s when Hitler started, he started after one group and it bled to other groups. And you just don't know. Eventually, you going to be in a group that they're not going to like. So you have to, like she said, be witnesses, witness this, film it, get it out on social media.
Yeah.
Because the Nuremberg trials, there's a movie called Nuremberg, and that was when they took in, after Hitler deleted himself because he was so brave. Then his soldiers and stuff and his lieutenants, when they went and they said, well, we were following orders, it was like, well, that's not an excuse. You knew what you were doing. And they like got a piece of rope and took care of quite a few of them, except for the ones that got chicken and deleted themselves in the jail cell before their sentence was carried out. And that's what the international courts are for, over The Hague. And that's what this movie Nuremberg's about, is The Hague. And it might be something we are going to be seeing.
Well, I like the fact that it's been voiced that people need to pull out their phones and start recording stuff, because everybody's got a phone. I mean, how do people think they get away with stuff when everybody's got a camera?
They don't. They don't. Let me correct you on this. The homeless don't.
That's true.
They do not. This is what happened there. They don't have IDs. They don't check them. This is what one of the biggest issues is. They can disappear us just like that.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have active phones to record, then what?
Yeah.
This is easy. This is easy.
Yeah.
They can do this to us in 2 seconds flat, you guys.
Right.
And that's what's happening up here.
Yeah.
And now they're using them as basically ammunition to try to get access to our tribes.
Right. Because they pushed them off of their lands to other lands, and now all of a sudden they're deciding, well, maybe those lands are a little more valuable and we want those too now. I mean, it's just like the situation that we're seeing, with them going after Greenland. Greenland is a country that is made of native people. It belongs to the people of Greenland. They're natives there. It's not a situation where you can't just keep taking. It's wrong. But I know one thing we had talked about with the homeless is it wouldn't give them a camera, but if you have an old cell phone at home, even if it's not active, if you can give them a charger in the cell phone, at least they can call 911. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't mean 911 will call, but at least it would give them some chance of help,
Not in
They
Minneapolis,
have
it
a
won't.
camera down there that doesn't work, or I don't know what's going on, but there's a whole police camera down there, and they always say, oh, it's grainy, we're not sure, what's going on. We couldn't see it. It's always something when it comes to our people. Killings, hate crimes, anything when they're there, and they've pushed them out. So our people were kind of staying in a camp, and they were behaving over there. I mean, what we seen, they were all sticking together. They were in this camp. Jana had been there, and it was right by MIWRC. They said they felt safe because they knew the cameras could see them, right? And they knew we would watch out for them. But I said, how come you guys, I went up north to Red Lake to ceremony. And when I came back, nobody's outside MIWRC. And I watch the jail rosters every day. And I watch for our people who's in jail today, you know, and I even like sometimes send these guys a screenshot and was like, oh my God, there's your girl, or there's your Leech Laker, or hey, this is a Leech Laker. I know they are, and I'll send it to Jana and Sally. Sometimes I'll send them, you know. Anyways,
Right.
there are cameras down there. Like, why
Yeah.
haven't they looked through those cameras and see what they can see? Anything for these men? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Around
Yeah.
what time did they go missing? What, you know, I can't believe
Yeah.
nobody's seen anything or knows anything. And it was only between relatives that Melissa brings them was able to get Andrew Eagle's name. And that's where they said, no, Andrew Eagle. And I've been out there to make sure, and he has not been seen.
Okay. And that
Mhm.
might be something that if anybody has a homeless relative out there right now, you know, try and make contact. Set up something to where you, even if you can get to where you talk to your relative once a week or something, have some kind of a, try and set up a system to where there's a check and balance. If there's more than one person in the family that can check on them, you know, so that we're keeping an eye on people, try to protect them. You know, what other suggestions, Jana, do you and Nicole have for you know, making sure the homeless are being looked after? And Ruth, you know, any of you that have suggestions?
Well, can Ruth has a story, I think, first and foremost, that needs to be
Okay.
heard.
Sure. Last week, I think it was Friday. It just seems like from last week, it seems like long ago, kind of long time ago or something. I don't know. The time is strange, I think. But yeah, last Friday, the 9th, I was at DIW on Lake Street for a meeting, and then we kept hearing whistles, but then at different times people were checking the live streams on their phones. So then once they turned their phones off, you could still hear whistles outside nearby, like it would just come on periodically. So it was just a crazy, just crazy times that we're in, you know. Just can't imagine, or it just kind of brings you back to like, is this how, you know, or what the ancestors experienced, or people, you know, have gone before us in different times, like you were mentioning Germany. And today too, it was crazy. ICE was on site. We were watching our cameras, and they were going on 15th Street and 23rd by All Nations Church in Mille Lacs, right next to MIWRC, but big long chains of cars, like big caravans. So I wasn't sure if it was like community patrol or not, you know. It was just and then one car would break free from them and go zipping down south on 15th Street, right next to MIWRC. Just a lot of traffic, or people parking on the side street. Exact same spot where we saw camera footage from last week. Last Friday, our security alerted us to, he said ICE agents are outside beating up a unsheltered man who's underneath a blanket. And that, you know, we have kind of all around MIWRC, like that intersection, it's kind of like perpendicular when you get to MIWRC. All Nations is more, you know, right off of All Nations Church is off of Bloomington, and so Mille Lacs is directly north of there, across the street, big nice new building that they're not moved into yet. And then next to that Mille Lacs building is a smaller white apartment building, and then next to that, closer towards MIWRC, is a mosque. It's been painted maroon, but it's very busy, like on Saturdays. With youth there. And so we always have our unsheltered relatives will sometimes seek shelter along that little corner there. And that's where there was some men just sitting there. And so we tried to pull the footage up as best we could, but it just wasn't as clear. But if you're familiar with how ICE agents, or I guess law enforcement now, how they show up, they have these like olive green vests, and the back has like yellow letters, so you could see perfectly one of the camera views of these cars circling that block kitty corner to us, and the minivan pulls up to that side street facing MIWRC, so facing east. And then there's a big SUV further back by the Mlax building. And then two guys get out of that minivan, and they both get out on the passenger side. And then they go over to the men that are sitting along the building on the street there. So it's hard to get a good angle there. We're working to try to get footage from All Nations and also Mlax and that apartment building next to it. But we did see after that they did get in their car, we didn't see them take anybody with them. And then we did see those guys like unsheltered go around the corner of that mosque building on the corner there and go up north, like head north on that street. So they did leave, eventually left that area. So, and when we were reviewing the footage this past Sunday night, we could see our security guard on the north side of the sidewalk that's adjacent to the playground there next to MIWRC. You could see that security guard come over, and he was standing there like kind of back enough to where they couldn't see him. Then he kind of slowly moves forward, and then all the way to the street. So just people who are in broad daylight minding their own business and being harassed. So when we saw all those cars honking, driving around, unmarked cars today, it was really, really alarming. And I was hearing the whistles, and then I saw on the cameras our staff were within the not cage, but the gated areas around.
Right.
But they're really blowing their whistles and stuff. So yeah, dug out my whistle, and it was really blowing, just all loud. But it just was like a weird feel, like, oh my, like it felt like we're in a different country, or we're just somewhere else, and
Yeah.
really fear. You could feel that fear. We had people upset, crying later, trying to hold it in. I mean, people were shook up, and then to come to find out, this MPD person says, "Oh, it was just something with BCA in Hennepin County." I'm like, well, why couldn't you guys tell us? Shoot, somebody could have got hurt. Just came from a Zoom meeting about compounded trauma. You know what I mean? So it's like
Okay.
all like that, just intergenerational trauma, and then
Right.
everybody's been in fight or flight mode. I mean, I don't live in the neighborhood where I work, but so I just definitely feel for our families, our community members who live right in the areas being directly impacted. One of our staff was messaging me last night. She lives in North Minneapolis, but only 9 blocks away from where all the activity was last night, and she was explaining the smells and everything were very strong, and she was only 9 blocks away from all of that. So yeah, it's just trauma upon trauma upon trauma, and then fight or flight responses. So I guess it's good to find healthy ways to cope with stress, for sure.
Yeah. And I think your story is important, because I think as a society, we're all part of the human family, you guys. If I cut any of us, we're all going to bleed red. Nobody's bleeding another color. We're all part of the same human family. We're all related, whether we want to admit it or not. We are. Get over yourselves. So it's a situation where if you see something, get your camera out, film it, post it on social media. We can't let these stories not be told. If you follow someone on Facebook and they're showing these things, repost, share. Make sure you're using hashtags, that will get people's attention so that they're paying attention. Jana, what other suggestions do you, Nicole, Ruth, what are the suggestions that each of you have for the audience?
always walk in pairs, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Walk in pairs, rely on one another. You know, especially if you're brown. You know, I was rolling around by myself today. You know, thinking. You know, I was over getting my tribal paperwork, and you know, over there where our tribal building is, there's not a lot of people. Well, there normally are, but there weren't any cars. There was really nobody over there, which was such
Okay.
a rarity to see because that's the Somali community that's kind of over there, right?
Right.
And it was eerie. You know, even driving into Minneapolis, you guys, it was eerie because there weren't a lot of cars out at that point.
People are
And
scared.
you can see that
Yeah.
everybody's hiding. You can see that
Yeah.
they are staying inside because they're going to get taken, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And I think that there's a couple of things that, you know, I've really, really taken like into my heart. You know, a couple of incidences here that really have spoken to me. You know, I'm not a huge Governor Waltz supporter, you know, but you know when he was speaking on camera, you know, he said that the one thing that I took away from that is that he said that the rest of this country was looking to Minnesota to hold that line of democracy. And
Yeah.
every single person that I've heard speak about this, you know, Chief Arvo Looking Horse, he came in and, you know, he prayed with, you know, there was what, a couple hundred people there, whatever it was. And well, he prayed and he prayed for peace. He prayed for peace. He prayed for the ICE agents to bring peace to us and for their hearts to change. You know, he prayed for things that you, as most of America, wouldn't wouldn't even think about, that
Right.
this was praying for us and for the ICE agents and for this whole country.
So he was
But
showing human compassion.
make no mistake either.
Yeah.
But make no mistake with this. What is happening here is that as I sat there before that last protest on Saturday, um, I sat there in that room at you know where our ground zero is,
Right.
amongst all of us. We're standing there, we're sitting there, you know, sitting in these chairs, and it was cold out that day. You know, there was over 100,000 people going to this protest. We sat there and each one of us put cedar in our shoes, you know, looks at each other, and it's like we can't even joke around about this because
No.
we know that we're going into war. We know that we are here because even if it's not affected the rest of white America, it's affecting us.
Yeah.
And you know, there's one other statement, and it's the past quote, you know, by Crazy Horse, and he said, "Only the strong-hearted to the front."
Yeah.
That's where
Mhm.
we're at. And I'm looking at each one of you girls, Nicole, Sally, Ruth. That's what you are,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, standing there today and being around in all of those warriors that are coming in from Montana, the ones that came in from Pine Ridge, the ones that came in, you know, from Rosebud, from Standing Rock, you know, those young warriors. You can't
Yeah.
help but be so proud of them. But you also know that what we're dealing with right now, the reason why we are able to stand is because of this is in our blood. This is in our blood. This is our
Yeah.
ancestors that are speaking to us now. And that's where our strength is.
Yeah. And I think that was beautifully
David,
put.
Mhm.
that's the
Beautifully
truth,
put.
definitely. Putting
Sally,
our
what's
tobacco down every day in prayer is also helpful. When we pray and we pray for generosity of everybody, for everybody to be more kinder in spirit,
yeah.
to take care of everyone, to learn other cultures. This is the
Yes.
only way that we're going to get through all of this, is that we have to be kinder. We have to learn other cultures. We can't be you know, oppressing people based on their culture.
And kindness is free, you guys. That's something you can give people for free. Kindness is free. Sally, what tips do you have that you want people to know?
I would want people to know that, you know, if you are in any way feeling in danger, don't open the door. If they're knocking on your door, don't open the door. And also, I would also say that people need to, like I said earlier, just put your tobacco down every day. Pray for us, pray for peace, pray for kindness, pray for these people that are acting like they're unhuman. Pray for
Yeah.
them to become more kind.
Okay.
Miigwech.
Okay. Nicole, what tips do you have, sweetheart, that you want to share? I caught her in the middle of lighting up.
Man, I'm probably the only person that's going to smoke a cigarette on a podcast. I'm just like, okay, when is this done? No.
It's okay, sweetheart. We gotta
No, but
find the
that
humor.
kindness, like
We got,
seriously, that kindness.
yeah. We
You
gotta
know,
find the
that
humor where we can get it, sweetheart. So thanks.
seriously, like man, but yeah, being kind to one another because we don't know what each other are going through. We don't know
Yes.
each other's traumas or their trauma response, and right now not taking emotions, and everybody's on like this emotional roller coaster. I am myself as well, you know, and it's hard to believe. You just know so many people are hurting out there and scared, right? So I would say, you know, be kind to one another because we don't know, and don't take things personal from one another right now. Maybe someone, you know, flies off the handle and you're like, oh my God, you know, so and so don't like me anymore. I wonder what I did to them. And then you're going through things and then it's all blown out of proportion. Like, no, people are going through it right now. And just like right now, just don't take things personal. Just be kind to one another, give people grace. You know, I work in the recovery community, so I'm probably one of the most patient people that people know when it comes to recovery and people in recovery. I'm in recovery myself. I'm about to be um 5 years in a couple more weeks here. So, and if
Congratulations.
Yeah.
no, nay, about a month. But you know, it's like that's what I
That's
hit the
awesome,
streets.
Nicole.
And I just have a lot of
Go ahead,
compassion for
finish
our
your
people because
sentence.
I
I'm
want to see our
sorry. I
people
was
get
just,
better. I
that's
want to see
awesome.
this opioid epidemic end, right? And right now, what I know is that from our people in recovery that relapsed a lot during COVID, the pandemic, and that isolation right now. So right now, we really need to be kind and check in with one another.
Right. And that's one thing our audience, the people that have been with us from the beginning, they know we don't make judgments about how someone lives, if they have an addiction, if they're living on the street, because we've talked about generational trauma, we've talked about residential schools. We don't understand what someone is going through because we haven't walked in their shoes. We covered a case up in Alaska with a serial killer that had gone after several Native women, and one of them chose to live rough or outside because of being essayed by a Catholic priest. So she felt safer outside. Sadly, she, ran across an animal, you know. So we make no judgments here for anyone that's doing recovery, even if they're not doing recovery, because we don't understand. And so our community knows that we don't put up with anyone that judges anybody in those aspects. Ruth, what tips do you have for us that you want to share before we go tonight?
Yeah, just really to echo everybody's comments, I think that kindness part is really important. Really resonates with me too because of how normalized hate and violence is normalized so much these days that we do have to, stay true to our values and like get back to the basics of being good to one another, just keep it simple and be good to one another. And that kindness is really important, especially now in these times. Be kind to ourselves, be kind to others and each other. So yeah, I really like that. Thank you, ladies, for bringing that up. So I know each and every one of you have helped me since I've been here, so yeah, I appreciate all of the ladies here and their kindness that they've shown to me too. So lots of good. Thank you.
Right. Well, you guys are welcome anytime. If there's a subject you want to discuss, just email us, let us know. Like I said, every Thursday is always devoted to our Native brothers and sisters. Anytime that we can be of assistance, we are good at getting our community that we're slowly building. But we're good at, if we need to send emails to someone, if we need to get word out, if there's some way that we can assist, let us know. We're glad to do it, because we have, like you said, we have to show kindness and we have to care about each other. And that's really important. And quickly, I need to share our missing persons. We always show posters, a few posters before we leave. And remember, when you're out and about, put those cameras down and look at faces. And if you see somebody and you think that this is someone that's on a poster, call the police. Let's get people found. Remember, someone may leave voluntarily and then they get in a situation where they can't get home and it's not their fault. Or we know trafficking happens. So please don't think someone else is going to do it. You do it. If you're too shy to call, we have an email. It's tips, 4, trialjunkies at gmail.com. I'll call the cops. I don't care. But our first person we have is Ambrose Amoit Jr. He's 21. He's been missing since October 25th from Minneapolis, Minnesota. He has brown eyes, black hair. He's 5'6". He's 130 pounds. He was last seen wearing a white t-shirt with blue flannel. His family last heard from him when he left them a concerning message. And they said it's unlike him to go this long without talking to someone in the family. They said he has no access to money and he has no phone. So he actually lived in Grand Forks, North Dakota, but he was missing. He had gone to Minneapolis. So please, if anybody knows anything about Ambrose, contact the Minneapolis Police Department at 612-673-5701. If you see him in another state, call 911. Let's get him found. We have Kelly Marie Hunt. She's 19 years old, you guys. January 7th was the last time she was seen in Anchorage, Alaska. She has brown eyes, black hair. She's 5'4", weighs 155 pounds. She was seen in a dark jacket, dark pants, on foot in the area of 32nd Avenue and Oregon Drive in Anchorage. She was staying in Anchorage with a friend, but was heading back to college in Sedolta and never made it. She left her suitcase, her purse, her wallet, and a lot of cash. It's believed she did have her phone when she went missing. So please contact Anchorage Police Department at 907-786-8900. Next, I have Lonnie Thomas. She's 15. She's been missing since January 11th, 2026 from Casablanca, Arizona. She was last seen at home around 9 p.m. She's with the Gila River Indian community. She has brown eyes. Hair is black with orange dyed tips. I bet it's beautiful. Height 5'4", 145 pounds. Last seen wearing a black hoodie and a black t-shirt, black pants with large side pockets, and black shoes. She has braces on her teeth. If you have any information on Lonnie, Gila River Police Department, 520-562-4511, or the tip line 520-562-7144. Then we have Maximilian
Tecumseh.
Maximilian. And go ahead and say the name for me, Doc.
Maximilian Tecumseh Hill.
He's 32.
Yep.
He's been missing since September 29th. He was last seen at Donner Pass Road Bridge Street in Tucky, California. He was last connected with his mother on October 9th. And he said he was in Arcata, California. He was trying to get his medication. He's considered an endangered adult from Minnesota. He's been missing since August 2025. Now, they said that if you see Maximilian, please contact the authorities. He is actually from the Mille-Lacs band. And I probably butchered that, and I apologize. He has brown hair, brown eyes, shoulder length hair. He's 6'1", weighs 250 pounds. But he was wearing a dark t-shirt, dark pants, and a dark blue hat. He wears his hair in a ponytail. He has tattoos that they don't have a description on the arms, but he has a lion on his chest. He went to get coffee, and then he was just gone. So contact the Minneapolis Police Department at 612-673-5374. Case number is 25-246-733. And our last one here is one we've had his sister on, and that is David Storbakken. He's 41. He's been missing since May 11th of 2024 in the Minnesota area. He was up in Roseville, Minnesota, up above Minneapolis, around 3 a.m., last seen leaving a speedway. He weighs 135 pounds. He's 6 foot tall. He has brown eyes, brown hair. He was wearing a gray hoodie with white pants. He's endangered. He's diabetic. He recently had some amputations on his fingers. He has a faded eagle tattoo on the back of his hand. Contact the St. Paul Police Department at 651-921-1111 or Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS. There is a $10,000 reward. But let's get David found because his sister has tried so hard to find him. And Melissa, we care about her so much. But I want to thank, any last words from any of you ladies? Anything anybody
Let's
wants to
find
say?
our missing and murdered.
Yes. And we have to. They're out there. Let's find them. So you guys, thank you so much for being with us tonight. This thing with what ICE is doing, it's racism, you guys. It's not immigration because they're not targeting the criminals. They're just targeting anybody that's the wrong color. And now they're going after the native citizens who deserve to be here, who've already gone through so much historical genocide, and it's just continuing. So let's make sure it stops.
Let's not depend on the police departments.
Well,
They're not
you
with
got that
us.
one right.
They don't stand
Yeah.
with us. Let's
No.
not depend
No.
on them.
No. That's why get your phones out. Make sure you're documenting stuff. If you see any of these people that are missing, remember, somebody knows something, and silence is betrayal, so call it in. Let these people be found. I want you guys to remember that our Native communities, they're some of the strongest, most resilient people you're ever going to meet. They're organizing, they're patrolling, and they're protecting their own, but we need to help them. We need to be protecting them too. We need to refuse to be silent on these issues. And as I always tell you, remember, every killer depends on your silence. Every system of oppression relies on your silence. Don't give it to them. If you have information about ICE targeting Native communities or you witness those violations, you contact the Native American Rights Fund, contact Tribal Legal Services, any organization in the area that is with the Native community. Let them know what is happening and what you're seeing. Get it on your social media. Don't keep it private. But like I said, we thank you guys for coming and for all your courage, your work, for coming and joining us tonight. You're welcome back anytime. And I want all of you guys to remember that we need to stay informed. We need to stay compassionate. We need to keep seeking truth and keep demanding justice and never stop speaking up, you guys. Say goodnight, Doc.
Good night, Doc.
Thank you, baby. And we love you all. We'll see you on Sunday. And ciao. Listen to the song we created for you. Okay.
Ice rolled in before the sun could rise, breaking down the doors, no warrant, no reply. Show me your papers, but the proof doesn't mean a thing. When your skin tells a story, they don't wanna hear you sing. They're taking babies from their mothers' arms, fathers from their workplaces, their homes and the streets. This is the land where your ancestors rest, yet they're telling you that you don't belong on these streets. Where are they taking you? This ground knows your name. 500 years and the story's still the same. They draw their lines and say you crossed to the wrong side. But how do you deport someone from their own sky? When they came at dawn, no one made a sound. Now ice has come to town. Windows shatter like promises made in the past. You must have done something, assumptions cast. But lawless times don't knock, don't wait, don't ask. They just see brown skin, and that's enough for the task. Your ID says you're home, but they call it fake. How many lives will it take before we wake? Man, woman, child, they don't discriminate in hate, just checking boxes while humanity breaks. Masks hiding their faces as they hunt their prey, filling quotas and checking boxes each day. Waiting outside schools where children should be safe, outside courthouses and hospitals, no sacred space. While you're pumping gas or walking to your car, taking native people, doesn't matter where you are. They don't ask questions, they've already decided. When your face is your crime, there's nowhere to hide. Where are they taking you? This ground knows your name. 500 years and the story's still the same. They draw their lines and say you crossed to the wrong side. But how do you deport someone from their own sky? When they came at dawn, no one made a sound. Now ice has come to town. Go back to your reservation, stay away as if you're strangers on the land where your ancestors lie. Your face becomes a target, your skin becomes a crime. They don't ask for your story, they don't take the time. One day the line will shift, you'll be the prey. Then you'll remember you looked away. Will you speak when they come for you? Or realize too late what silence can do? Where are they taking us? This ground knows our names. The laws are gone, but the crew